I'm happy to introduce Ajahn Sucitto as a sincere Dhamma friend, someone whom I respect a great deal personally and enjoy. Um, it's good to perhaps share just a bit of his background because while he's um, really well known, one of the most highly regarded teachers on the Western, uh, early Buddhist tradition, Theravada landscape. Uh, he's also very famous in Asia, where he teaches regularly. He's ordained nearly 50 years ago now. We're looking towards his some kind of big celebration that he'll probably do in a couple of years. Someone will put that together for him, I'm guessing. Um, but if really the thing that I would like to convey is the grounded sincerity of his path that is so inspiring and beautiful for so many of us. Um, he sees the traditional Buddha Dhamma carried in the texts and knows it really, really well. He's internalized it really deeply. And to have a formal, to have a Dhamma discussion with Ajahn Sucitto that does touch into the suttas and so on, you realize that, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. And yet, when he goes to actually share Dhamma, he's sharing entirely from the moment. And it's as appropriate to the human beings in front of him, to the culture he's in. And the language may or may not reflect those suttas. And what it does reflect, though, is his own direct experience. It's his insuppressible curiosity, uh, and when you put that together with that integrity and honesty that he has, it sometimes comes out looking very different from what we would call, say, vipassana meditation or something like that. It might look like uh, qigong, or it might look like a talk that's like, you would even have a hard time tracing the Dhamma roots unless you really knew your stuff, but it's all in there. Um, so it was a joy when we taught together for the month-long retreat that ended up being a 3-week retreat because the world was shutting down due to the pandemic right in the retreat. It was an intense and amazing thing. He's actually one of the few senior teachers on the planet who's actually sat Insight Dialogue Retreat. He has that humility and that curiosity. He has a deep understanding and recognition of the power of human relatedness. It's quite beautiful to see. And then in some, I do consider us fortunate to be receiving his teachings here. He's been involved or supportive of this community for a very long time. Bhante, welcome. It's really good to have you.
Thank you, Greg. And thank you, everyone. Okay, well, here I am in Thailand at the moment. Here it's 9 o'clock in the evening. I just finished teaching a retreat, which, as all my retreats, it was a dharma retreat, that is, sort of charge. And then people were, at the end of it, those who wished to could make offerings, and whatever was offered, I don't take anything. It just goes to support paying the bills in the monastery. British government hasn't really learned the beauty of dharma yet, so we have to pay them. I expect you're in a similar position. But this is where I began, we might say practice or dhamma, through dharma, because I was I've been traveling around and as a lay person and looking for some kind of spiritual thing to tap into. And I was in India for five months, but nothing really clicked. It all seemed too complicated. Ended up in Thailand and realized it's something to do with Buddhism. I didn't really know much about Buddhism in those days, but I knew Buddha was a pretty nice, cool-looking fellow, and seemed wise when I'd seen pictures of it. So I ended up following my nose and wandering around this Chiang Mai, a town in the north of Thailand, and saw this sign nailed on a post saying meditation class in English at what Mumong, beginner's welcome. So of course, no charge. And you go into this class, it's free, you sit there, and the person's giving a talk on meditation, and okay, you listen to it, sounds good, sounds direct, sounds immediate. Okay, try and do it. Wow, this is tricky. Yeah, I need some support here. My mind is all over the place. So, how can I get more of this? And how do I do this? I mean, I'm living in, ground floor of YMCA in Chiang Mai. So I said, could I go to, you have a monastery? Go to a monastery? He said, yeah, you can come to the monastery. So he gave me this address. So, okay, a few days later, packed everything up, hitchhiked down the road, a couple 100 miles, rolled into the monastery, sometime in the evening, and they were expecting me, oh, you come in, here's a place you can live. It's called a kuti, a little dwelling, which is about 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters small. You stay there. That's your place. That's for you. No charge. No questions asked. Just, So morning time, come around and see the abbot. And come around and see the abbot. He said, you speak a bit of English. Okay, welcome to the monastery. I hope you're happy. I said, yeah, I want to. No, very good. No, meditate. Very good, very good. We give you a place. You can meditate. Yeah. That was it. So I stayed there and stayed there 3 years. No charge. Teaching all given. And one thing I'd noticed as I've been in Thailand in the morning time, I'd go down early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, when I'd been traveling, sit down in some bar and have a cup of coffee, and these monks would walk past, and they were just carrying these bowls, and they didn't have any shoes on their feet, just walking along barefoot with these bowls, with a light shining through their robes there. It's called alms round. Just walking along, very light, gentle, carefree, walking along. Wow, got nothing in their bowls. They've got robes. The light is shining through the robes. There's nothing much there. They've got no shoes on their feet. These guys look happy. Hey, wait a minute. I'm full of stuff. My head's full of stuff. My life is full of stuff. I've been consuming stuff for 25 years. I'm miserable, fed up, jaded, had enough, bored. I've stuffed so much stuff inside me that I'm bored with everything because I've done it all, seen it all. I'm only 25. I've stuffed myself. They don't have, just, wow, what's that? These people look happy. So when I go to the monastery, I thought, can I do this alms round thing? Is it possible to do that? So, yeah, okay, yeah, very good. You can do that. So I became a samanera, junior novice monk. They gave me a bowl. teacher said, yeah, you can go out, but no, you have to go in without other people to show you where to go. We've got a little route you go along. So I'd walk along with this bowl, and a couple of monks in front of me, and I walk along, and just keep your eyes downcast and just stay quiet, don't say anything, you know. You walk along and you down this little, just dawn coming up, light coming up, and you see people are kind of just starting to get things together and looking around, and just kind of grubby old singlet on, or somebody's kind of rocking a baby, you know, people just kind of rubbing the sleep out of their eyes and putting things together. And I see the monks say, Nimon, 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 which means we invite you. Nimon, 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 pra, pra, come here. So you walk along, and then they got this bowl with some rice in it. And you have your bowl, you take the lid off your bowl, they take a spoon of rice and put it in the bowl, and they make Anjali. And then you walk on. They didn't say, they didn't say anything. I didn't say thanks. The monk in front of me didn't say thanks. So I said, I did what they did, to keep quiet. So they gave me this spoonful of rice. Then I go along, somebody else does it. And somebody else does it. Then somebody puts a little bag with some curries in it in my bowl. I don't even know these people. These people are very scruffy old clothes, you know, like some grubby old singlet or a pair of flip-flops on their feet. They don't know they got 2 cents to rub together. And I'm just going, what the earth is this? You know? And so I keep going, you know, we go through this marketplace, and there's this on the marketplace, there was various stalls, you know, where people sell their fruit and things. This one stall, there's this person sleeping on top of the stall. That's where she lives. She lives on top of the stall, you know. So she's sleeping on top of the stall. And we kind of creep along, and she hears the monks. She gets up. Oh, wait. This old lady. She hasn't even got a house. And she said, well, you got to stop. No, stop. And stop. And she scrambles around. She looks under her stall. She gets out this brass bowl, gets a spoon from somewhere, dips in some water to make it clean, and she scratches around, and she puts a spoon of rice in my bowl. What is this? So I go through this whole village. I come back, my bowl is full of food. I want to do this. So you go up there, you know. So I go up to this big hall. So, empty your bowl out. Okay, you empty your bowl out in this big kind of basins. You put the food in, pour the food in the bowl, and then you just let it go. And that gets taken out and taken to the temple boys who live in the monastery. They get some food and distributed. You go back to your kuti. We'll bring you some food later on. You know? And so I'm checking this out, you know. And sometimes I go down this market. I try to creep past this stall to not wake up the old lady in case, you know. And sometimes I get a little bit past and she wakes up and come back. You know, she's got to do her thing. You know? And then I'm looking at the culture of this monastery. There's like maybe 50 nuns. Didn't count, just loads of nuns. Maybe a few, maybe 25, 30 monks, more nuns than monks. Yeah. And people are bringing food in. And also they have a whole load of little boys who obviously haven't got home, so they've been given to the monastery to look after. So the kids are there, they get fed, they get clothed, they get their education, they get basic, 3 R's, and they get a moral education like behave yourself. Monks would, act like they're big brothers, tell them what to do, tell them what not to do. And the nuns, we give them a bit of motherly attention. Kid gets brought up to be a proper human being, and it basically serves. he helps tidy things up, clean things up. Monks come back, he takes their bowls away from them so they can go and wash their feet. And the whole thing is kind of flowing. And it's this entire community built on sharing. And nobody's asking for anything back. And nobody's saying, well, would you deserve it? Or how much can you give? No, what is everybody meant? They don't really even talk about it. It's just like, do you breathe? Of course you breathe. You're a human being. And if you're not giving, you're not really a human being yet. You're some kind of strange, weird ghost. Something wrong with you. Because a human being is someone who is made rich by this quality of heart. That's what makes them human. The heart does that. Otherwise, you're some kind of hungry ghost who's doing this. So that was the kind of basis of it. And this is so very strong. And you can actually see on some of these alms rounds, you see there's the people are lining up, and this mother's got a little tot, like 18-month-old, maybe, I don't know, a little thing like that. And she lifts the baby up, and she's got the bowl of rice, and she sticks one end of she gets the little kid's mitt, sticks it round the spoon, and gets the kid to do dharma, like you're only 18 months old and you're already doing it. Like, this is what it is to be a human. Get it? You do this. And so the whole thing rotates around that. So the monastery acts as a kind of just a refuge, a school, could be almost like a refugee camp, could be an orphanage. It's a retirement home. Elderly people go there. Look, I've had enough of the world. I'm fed up. Finished. Okay, shave your head. You can be a nun. Okay, shave your head. You can be a monk. Fine, we'll take you in. And that's respected, and the society will support it. And you're not, you don't have to be a great teacher. You don't have to be just basically here's the rules. Precepts. No killing, no stealing, celibacy, no eating in the evening. And if you're in the monastery, you don't really even be told. Everybody looks, how do you help out? How do you help out? I've been given to, therefore, because I've been given to, obviously I'll be giving wherever I can. I mean, it's not even a thought. It's just like, you breathe in, you breathe out, don't you? So if you breathe in, you're going to be breathing out. So naturally, and these are the people looking after you. So you want to find out how you can, best way you can channel that quality of heart. It's all very fluid, and you've got people who clearly don't have very limited material resources. They'll give their one spoon, and you must allow them to do it. One of the kind of ways of monk, the only way a monk can punish, like a government who are not behaving good, is to walk along with the bowl turned upside down. It means, I do not allow you to give. That's considered punishment. It means you can no longer perform as a human being. That's like death penalty. So if somebody wants to give, you've got to take it. Whether you want it, like it, doesn't matter. That's secondary. You've got to accept it. Otherwise, you haven't allowed them to be a proper human being. So you've got to accept it. Of course, you don't have to keep it. You pass it on. And that's, of course, the thing. That the way the monk acts as a kind of a channel you get the stuff in, so that okay, well, where can we put this? Where does that go? And they just act as, and everybody knows that. Nobody expects you to keep it. And so, I find that I'd be at some, what they call a dharma meal. You go to this meal and it's this table. You'd die. If you ate it all, you would die. Absolutely. And I said, well, there's no way I could possibly eat all. They looked at me like, well, of course, I said, sorry, my ability, my needs are small. I don't have that much. Your needs are small, but our generosity is huge. You've got to allow us to do the grand thing. What you do with it, if you eat it, don't eat it, you just have to let it touch your hand. That's all. Then we walk away. Don't even ask what you did with it. Because that's kind of secondary. And of course, the other thing is that they're giving it to a bhikkhu, at least if it's a proper bhikkhu, he's not going to do corrupt, nasty things with it. So whatever he does with it, he'll probably share it with other monks or novices or nuns or build monasteries or something, but it'll be good because that thing will then move on. So you get very more senior monks who get a lot of this. They're building hospitals. So I don't need it. Well, build a hospital. So there's lots of hospitals built purely by monks, not for monks, for anybody. So that's what they'll do. They'll go back somewhere. Maybe they come from some poor village in northeast Thailand or something, and they get to be well known, well respected. People come along, and they start making donations, monetary donations. Monk can't accept donations. What he can accept is the offer to use to call upon that fund to be used for some material thing. So somebody says, Ajahn, I'd like to give you $10. So I say, I can't receive $10. Huh? I've got $10 I want to give. Oh, no, I can't receive $10. What I can do is if you want to, you can give $10 to Greg, and Greg will say, Bhante, somebody's giving me some money. Can I offer you something? And I say, sure, give me a ballpoint pen or something like that. So that's the way it works. It's called invitation. So often what will happen is that you get these little slips of paper with numbers written on them, whatever it is, the local currency. So you just give it to some steward, who then acts as a go-between in a way. Steward looks at it, says, okay, we got 500,000, whatever it is. How would you like to do this, Bhante? This people have offered this for your welfare. So, well, I think we need to, the village needs a school. Perhaps you could go to support a school. Or my home village, it needs a hospital. People have to travel 50 miles to the nearest hospital. We can use it to build a hospital. And that's pretty much, nobody even thinks it's unusual, pretty standard thing to do. And in fact, they say, well, give it to the monks, give it to the government, it's probably going to go into somebody's back pocket. Don't give it to the government. You don't trust them. Give it to the monks. Because that's the thing, you see. Because someone who lives on dharma, like what I found, particularly when I've gone this arms round thing, was I'd come back and everything, gee, God, these people have just been so generous. They don't know me. My mind's steeped in defilements and my attention's feeble. I could just about wear a robe on my back. That's about it. I feel almost like a fake. And these people didn't ask me a thing, didn't say how good you are, whether you're wise, doesn't matter. You're trying. There you go. Wow, I got to live up to that. That enormous act of faith and cred that's been given to me. I can't just be cheap in my endeavors. I can't say, well, I'm fed up with this, I say, I give everything I can, I got no money. I can give, I got to give myself to this practice. The only way I could possibly match that total unquestioning generosity is I give myself to this practice. Kept me going. Kept me going. It was the happiest time of the day. Happiest time of the day. Rest of the day is grinding. Looking at the wall. Feeling the heat. Listening to the sounds. Feeling the more heat. Grinding along. Mind grinding along. The moment of joy was the arms round, and the faith in human nature. And every day, every day you get the thing like, well, just try again today. Just, today is a new day. Try today. And tomorrow, we support you again today. And the next day, we support you again today. And the next day, we support you again. Every day we support you. We support you. We support you. Try again, So you do. Yeah. Get me going. And there's a seminary, you see, which was like we probably know the difference, but seminary's got 10 precepts because you've got precepts sprouting out of their ears. There's so many of them you can't even count. It's quite a specialized code of conduct, protocols and stuff. A lot of it is just fairly much about etiquette, about deportment, about ways of relating to people to make sure you don't hint at anything inappropriate. You don't pressurize people into giving things. You're always kind of like, people ask you what you want, you say, we're content very much, If they say, what do you want? You say, I'm contented, that's fine. Say, what do you need? Well, my needs are few. And they say, please allow me to give you something. You say, okay, well, the 4 requisites possible, and medicines can be given. So, really, it's, in other words, I don't need, but we're available to keep that channel open. That's important. If you say, can I give you something? Then I can't really say no. Because that would always close the channel. Right? So I say, yeah, that's a very generous offer. I'm touched by that, by your generosity, and yeah, I could. I think some tea would be very helpful. Like small, modest, doesn't matter. And you really, you recognize what's involved in that act of faith. Let's really be very careful with this. And generally, our encouragement is, particularly if if you're new at the practice, recognize people will offer the shirt off their back. So, if they're really eager to offer something, you look at something that's kind of pretty modest, and you try and assess this. What's her background? She loves dharma, but she's not got a lot, but she loves dharma. Just, she'd be happy if you just say some postage stamps is fine, So you're really careful because people often give, to the point of, and begging to do so. Because the giving makes the heart huge, They say that every time you give something, the giver is made bigger than the gift. Yeah. Because the heart that gives is always bigger than what it gives, right? So every time you do some giving, at that moment, your heart, the heart is obviously a moment experience, is made bigger by the gift, and the bigger the gift, even heart gets bigger. So you've got to be kind of really careful about how this stuff is managed. And then the thing is, you have to acknowledge that by what's called the anumodana. One of the primary duties of monk is to express appreciation, which is, people say monks don't say thank you. They say thank you in all kinds of subtle ways. What does thank you mean? Two sounds. But the monk says, through the blessings of this gift, may you grow healthy, wealthy, strong, and wise. When you do this, giving to the elders, your spiritual welfare will be benefited. You can celebrate in this, and this is supporting the entire. So it's really, quite beautiful, and expressing back, look, please acknowledge what your heart is doing. So the recommendation at the moment is, as we give that, is focus on what your heart is doing, because when you look into that is a treasure, because the heart, right? Because when the heart's doing it, it's not clinging. As we recognize, what is it? Whatever school of Buddhism in, the big enemy, like ignorance. You don't even really know the score. You really don't know you don't understand things clearly. And in that ignorance, there's called grasping at the five aggregates, right? First noble truth. Grasping the five aggregates is suffering. And so we don't want to suffer. So how come? Because of ignorance, we don't, the person doesn't recognize this sometimes subtle quality of just holding on to my views and opinions, holding on to my perceptions, holding on to my attitudes. These are me and mine. I'm keeping mine. I'm getting mine. Then I feel solid and secure because I'm getting mine. And they're getting contracted and tight. And then the whole myth of ownership takes over. People think they own something. And I mean, this is such a normal thing. It's utterly crazy. You don't own the next breath. You don't own the body. You don't own. Ownership is an illusion. There is no owning. You can't take the earth underneath you with you. It owns you. You don't it. Right? And yet there's this stuff. Ignorance takes over. There's grasping. So this kind of contraction. Then people get kind of, well, I don't know if I've got enough. Better store some up for the future because you never know. And then, well, maybe only 1 million. You never know. It's kind of fun having stuff, isn't it? Let's get some more. Let's have 2 million. Well, it's kind of nice and interesting side. Let's get 1 billion. And you've got people with like $100 billion. What are you going to do with it? What do you need? Food, right? Water, clothing, shelter. You don't need 1 billion for that. What are you going to do with it? You just fool around. Yeah. And in doing that, what are taken, somewhere along the line, somebody else is poor because of that. They say something like, what is it? The figures, the number of people who could sit on the top of a London bus, maybe less, maybe 20 people own that word or have control over more than 50% of the material wealth of the planet. So 50% of the people, the bottom 50, don't have as much as this top 10, 12 people. like, isn't that a crime of some kind? I mean, isn't that a crime against nature, against decency, against what it is to be a human, that you can let people suffer in poverty and hunger and have their kids die of starvation, and you're sitting on 100 billion? What kind of human are you? What kind of society are you building? Everybody's holding their own. If you're sick, well, I'm not going to give you anything unless you pay me. You can drop dead on the street. I'm not going to give you any. My intelligence costs me money. So you want medicine? You're going to have to pay me. You want your teeth fixed? You better pay me. You want to learn something? You want to go to school? You better pay me. Right? Hey, you want justice? You better pay me. I'm a lawyer. You better pay me. You better pay me good, because they got a better lawyer who they paid more. If he's got a better lawyer, you got no chance of having your justice met. This is called justice. We pay for it. We buy it. Bigger money, bigger lawyer, bigger justice for the person who's got it. I mean, is this criminal? And who's winning? You've got a world ripped apart. The people fighting, and people fighting over land they think they own. Yeah, let's right. I like to sometimes study, anthropology and social anthropology, and I was reading this book, and this anthropologist was kind of going to various areas. He's in East Africa, I think, Northeast Africa, Northwest Africa. It appears, it's kind of fairly desert area, pretty poor. People just get by. They got maybe a camel, and they say, we have to give. You have to, whatever, if a poor person's here, it's a disgrace to our village. If somebody's in poverty, that's a disgrace to us because we haven't looked after them. So, when we give them things, if they need something, you've got to give them something. Otherwise, and the guy saying, well, what would happen? Think about it. Well, no, what would happen if you didn't give? You die alone under a tree. The idea you just be completely cut off human contact, and the spirits wouldn't even accept you because nobody wants a miser. So you've got to give, otherwise you're not a human being. And so the society bonds. And this group of islands out in the Indonesian archipelago called the Trobriand Islands, and these islands are like 100 miles apart, 50 miles apart, 250 miles apart, and they're all kind of strung out over the Pacific. And there's this regular thing every year as people get in their boats, and they stock their boats up with, I don't know, coconuts, shells, and whatever, and they paddle away through the sea, through the ocean, guys paddling across the Pacific Ocean, so they could paddle away quite a bit to get around to get to the next island. And they get to the next island, and the anthropologists think, what's going to happen here? So they get out and they start wading through the water and shouting, and the local people come down, they say, shout, shout, shout. They're all shouting and think, hey, trouble's going to brew up, trouble's going to happen. Looks like there could be a fighting. They start shouting and stabbing around, and they bring their coconuts out and they give them to the guys on the shore. The guys on the shore got their stuff and they give them other stuff back, So they've swapped, you see. And the guys get back in the boats, go off to the next island, do the same thing. So this whole thing, people moving around, and he's looking, but and so they do this because it knits them all together. And he reckons, wait a minute, this guy, you gave him a coconut and he gave you a pig. I mean, that's a bad deal. And he says, well, you know, it's not a bad deal. It's a good deal. Because he gave me more than I gave him. So now we're bonded. Right? Because now I owe loyalty to him, right? That's a good deal. Because now we're going to be loyal to each other. We've got that bond. And the idea is to get so much in debt that you can never pay it off. So you'll be bonded to people. And my son's bonded too. Because we owe everybody everything. And they owe everybody everything. And so when we want to hold this gigantic rock to honor my grandfather up the hill, right, all the people who are in debt to me, they'll come out and help me. Because that's their way of repaying the generosity. That's the way it works. Nobody gets paid. And the whole society is bonded around this principle of just, when you've got some stuff, give it away. And then you get a friend. Because the friend's what you need. You know, you look at a coconut, that's not going to do you any good when you're sick and dying, but a friend will. Right? Then you've got your measly fistful of $50. You can look at that $50, you can stuff it in your mouth, it's not going to feed you. You can wash it, it's not going to wash you. You can't make clothes out of it. What is it? A bunch of paper. Right? But if you give it to somebody, yeah, you've got a friend now who's going to look after you when you're sick. Right? So that's what we do. That's how we're investing in humanity, in sharing humanity, because it's going to bring us together. Otherwise, if we don't need each other, right? If I got enough and you got enough, we don't need each other. Well, there's no spark, is there? There's no kind of connection. There's no sort of sense of juice flowing between us. Whereas if I've given you something, you give me something, juice starts flowing, you know? So it keeps us bonded. You know? So you don't want to sit on your own with your pile. You want to give it away so you get friendship and companionship. This is the kind of logic of dharma. You know? So all those people who in this town were giving, right? And you know, when they're in hardship, they go to the monastery, and the monastery says, okay, here's some rice, here's some food. Looks like the kid needs some shoes. Just a minute. I think we've got some stuff in the stores. Give them that, you know. Okay, you got 6 kids. Give us 3. We'll look after them for you. We'll bring them up.
Yeah. Ajahn, you've been living in the West where this culture is not as well established, of course, but you've been watching over many, many decades an evolution, because you've been at, a couple of monasteries in the West and so on. So you've watched an education process. For those of us living in this culture where this astonishing beauty and flow that you're talking about is not yet established, but is kind of trying to wiggle its way out of the mud, what are you seeing, or what can you what light can you shed on the process?
Well, I think with generosity, you've got to recognize recognize the intrinsic happiness of it, and how it's like, you see, there's what's called material giving, then there's giving of hospitality, then there's giving of service, and there's giving of advice and dharma. So, so all those possibilities are there. And so, and it really helps if you kind of back in, like, so you've got the dharma, sila, nekkhamma, three openings of the Buddhist path. And nekkhamma, renunciation, means having recognized just how feverish people get about possessing things. It's nice to, you know, drop your needs, you know, renunciation, let go of it. So really lowering the requirements means the generosity can flow much more readily, and it actually is more essential. Now, I go arms round in Britain, you see, so you don't think Britain's not a Buddhist country. Well, I think generous people are generous, period. When, you know, Ajahn Sucitto came to England, and he said to Ajahn Chah, northeast Thailand, he said, so he said to Ajahn Chah, who wanted to send to England, well, I mean, they don't know what Buddhist monks are. I mean, how are we going to get support? I mean, they don't even know what's supposed to be. He says, Ajahn Chah said, are there any good people in England? Do you think there are any good people in England? He said, yeah, I'm sure they're good people. They'll support you. You go. Make sure you walk every day, go out arms round every day. Arms round in London, yeah, what's the chance, yeah? So they go out every day, arms round. People get to know them. Some people who are Asian Buddhists will put food in the bowls. Who are these guys? What do you do? Oh, really? They come to the temple, listen to a talk. Oh, that's really great, you know. I'd like to offer something. One day, walking across Hampstead Heath, big park in North London, some guy comes jogging past, turns around, comes jogging back. What are you? What are you? Well, we're forest monks. Oh, yeah? What are you doing in London? Well, we come from Thailand. Well, naturally, we normally live in forests. Oh, really? I got a forest, you know. Got 100-acre forest. Kind of trying to someone to look after it. I mean, is it possible? Give it to you? Because you look at you've got an order that's been going for 2,500 years. You know, it's not going to fall away, is it? So he gives us a forest, 100-acre forest. Like, you want to try and buy land in West Sussex? This is like, so, you know, did anybody tell him about dharma? Did anybody tell him about Buddhism? Human beings are human beings. See a good thing, trust it, no pressure, it happens. So, okay, so we get this forest down in West Sussex, which is stuck in some little pokey back quarter, thinking, yeah, nobody's going to feed us here. Nobody knows who we are. You know, nobody knows we're here. So it's okay, we got a little bit of rice and some beans, you know, stored away. So we'll eat those and see what happens. You know, some of the novices go out and start picking nettles from the hedgerow to put in our pots so they can boil up some food. Yeah. Then people in London find, hey, the monks are down there. The monks are down there. They're hungry. We've got to feed them. So there's truckloads of food coming down. You know, like, it beats me. And it beats me, all of it. You know, we got all these monasteries given to us, land given to us, buildings given to us. We didn't ask for it. You know, and you just think, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than, well, I can't figure this. I'm living a miracle. I don't know. But I just do my bit. And if that's somehow keeping the flame alight, so be it, because it's doing me good. And then people are saying, happy. We go on a street in some little town in Sussex, you know, people wander past, and somebody comes, what's he doing? Collecting from the, no, not collecting our money. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, food. Oh, just a minute. Yeah. And they say, oh, thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for being here. Thank you, brother. For what? You know? So there it is. It's just, and so naturally, you know, we want to offer whatever. So when you get all that, as I said, you know, not only do they empower you to do your own practice, what can I give back? What can I give back? Because that's the way it goes. We're dealing with something. It's not about the normal personal mind. It's very archetypal. As I talked about, these people in North Africa, they're not Buddhist. Okay, so you know, it's just the archetypal thing of when that stuff starts moving, moving backwards and forwards, people lose fear of each other. You know, people lose fear of each other. People lose that sense of awkwardness with each other. People, the boundaries start to grow more gentle, and you can, you know, and then you feel, hey, this is really nice. He's received me, and I've received him, and hey, this is really nice, you know. And that's the way it goes. And I don't know if I can say anything more on that, Craig. I mean, please let me know.
Oh, no, 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 that's beautiful. You know, we have a weird hybrid culture that's emerging here, of course, where uh, there's very few, for example, in offering insight dialogue, a practice that I know that you know and appreciate. Um, there's of all the teachers, there's probably two or three, at least one of them's here who's a monastic. Um, most are not. And so we have this really, it could be an awkward situation if you have just a certain mindset. Oh, well, that's not a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni. That's not a monk or a nun. And so they're living a Western life. And yet I can tell you from experience, I still feel that same kind of respect. Well, if I'm being supported this way, I better show up. I better do my best on my own path to be worthy, you know. So I know that it impacts me. And yet we still have this kind of that reciprocity that you're so beautifully describing. It gets kind of clunky, chunky, you know, gritty, unclear when you don't have the robes, the monastery. You know, there's this something other, something fluid needs to happen. And when it's an organization, of course, for the monastery, you've got that sense, I know exactly what they're doing. And the Insight Dialogue community is like, oh, we're the monastery. It's like all the mind has to absorb it so differently.
Yeah. It's where our culture is it's pretty got some pretty clunky pieces in it, and the whole thing of deserving and how much, you know, who gets the best, and this kind of stuff goes on, which is the cramped measuring mind, you know. And you're saying, you know, in some ways for that, there's never enough. When the heart's open, everything's enough. Because what else you want to do in your life and have your heart open? You know, sure, you're going to get, you know, your shoes on your feet, but that ain't that difficult. And, you know, you realize the most important thing, if you're going to live as a human being, you want the heart to open, because otherwise we're half dead already otherwise. You know, so okay, so, you know, how long we live for? 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 20 years, who knows? You can't store it up. And so, you know, the heart just makes it infinite and boundless. And naturally, you know, we have the kind of sense of prayer, which is just the giving of blessings, giving of metta. You know, again, is a very much the heart thing. It's like, well, I don't know how much metta I want to give you, because I did you yesterday, and really, you're not really this one more metta for that one. She really looks good when she does. He's a bit grumpy. You don't do that, do you? And so then you realize that the sense of me as the measurer fades away, and the sense of just you, the heart is just flowing. And you realize, okay, you know, times are going to be rough, times are going to be sparse at times. We'll get through because we're connected to each other. And sometimes we just can't quite get all we need, but we'll get through and we'll stay dignified and we'll stay together and we'll stay loving. And that's the big thing, you know? Yeah.
Ajan, you've been so generous with your time as as you're living the dana here, being so kind, so offering so freely. Thank you, and you've given a gift in the quality, the depth, the sincerity, the genuineness, the spontaneity of your talk that only you could offer. It comes from where you are, and I feel like I'm speaking on behalf of all of us. Thank you so much. Really.
Okay. Thank you, friends, for inviting me. If I'm invited, I generally, if I possibly can, make the, if it's invited, I try to respond in a compassionate and careful way. So, Gunnar, and lovely to see you, such as I can see, and really admire your work and your community and your sense of, really engaging and offering each other's presence and receiving each other's presence. And the gift of truth is the supreme gift.
Mm, mm,
Truly is the supreme gift that surpasses everything.
mm,
So really encourage you to continue your practice and grow strong and rich in that.
mm. Thank you so much.
Okay, take leave then. Yeah.
Yep.
Take care.
Yep. We can still have some time together if you'd like, friends. Obviously, there's no one who can respond to your questions or observations uh, as or with that essence of Ajahn Sucitto, but to either hear each other or if there's anything I can offer, of course I will, but it's really all of us together uh, in our exploration of dana, of the culture of giving. The vision that Ajahn Sucitto offered was so, for me personally, so heartwarming. It brought tears to my eyes. So rich and so inspiring. So the space is open for us.